Cable Bahamas has always been considered the innovator.
People can have confidence in Cable Bahamas as a mobile operator because of our past history. We've proven to the Bahamian community that we are in fact able to manage additional services as a telecommunications company.
Customers expect the best from Cable Bahamas.
The technology that we bring is revolutionary technology because we know that the Bahamian public, they deserve it, and Cable Bahamas is here to bring it to them.
We are ready. Turn us on.
Webshop operators to establish their own bank. The Foreign Affairs Minister looking into complaints filed against Bahamar CEO. This as an F&M senator slams government's back and forth with Sarkis's Merlion. Plus, Island Luck covers the cost of a Balls Alley shooting victim's funeral. We've got those stories and a whole lot more tonight. I'm Vonique Tude and NB12 starts now. Topping news tonight, FML Group of Companies CEO Craig Flowers says Webshop operators absolutely have a goal of opening their own bank. In an interview with NB12 today, Flowers said their decision has nothing to do with Canadian banks' refusal to accept Webshop funds, but their attitudes towards operators. Kyle Joaquin reports.
It's no secret that some people use their Webshop accounts to transfer money to others. Well, we spoke with FML Group of Companies CEO Craig Flowers today, who said that after licenses are issued, the Gaming House Operators Association has plans of making that task a whole lot easier. It's become an underground method of making payments and sending money. One person makes a deposit and another withdraws, all through personal Webshop accounts. The practice, once only available through banks, is now possible at number houses, making some banks obsolete. And with Webshops on the brink of receiving licenses, Flowers says it is the goal of their association to take it one step further and apply for a bank license.
From FML's perspective, yes, we need to have a banking license to be able to fulfill some of the needs that we feel as though is necessary.
And here's why.
I think that our position on this matter with this to seek to have a bank license would be for us to be more proactive in the assisting of Bahamians who are in dying need that cannot go to banks. I think that there is an enormous amount of Bahamians today that are not being treated. Well, I would retract that treated, but that are not getting the assistance from the bank that they would like to, and we believe that we can be an alternative to that.
Gaming houses have had their fair share of battles, having lost in the 2013 gaming referendum, where voters overwhelmingly voted against the regulation of the industry. But months later, the government announced it would move ahead with granting no more than 8 licenses. Flowers said from discussions ongoing in the Gaming House Operators Association, where he is the president and Island Luck CEO Sebastian is the vice president, operators would want to have one bank license.
Yes, absolutely. For banking license, yes, we would look for consolidate ourselves and look at how can we put together the necessary funds in order to support this. I mean, I think that there's a tremendous amount of monies are going to be required to qualify. In addition to the integrity of persons and personnels who are going to be the directors. And there's a lot of work when you talk about bank. Bank is not something that you're going to open a little store on the side of the street.
But with Webshop's plans to open a bank, there are concerns of money laundering. Flowers says they would not get into a business where they won't conform to the rules and regulations.
Any banking license has its qualifications. If we don't meet the qualifications for a banking license, we don't get one. As long as we meet the qualifications by like anyone else who would apply, Commonwealth got a license. So we feel as though that if we apply and we meet the criteria, we should be considered no different from anyone else.
We know that Canadian banks like Scotia and the Royal Bank of Canada, as well as CIBC First Caribbean International, refuse to accept Webshop proceeds. But Flowers says it's not even for that reason that Webshop owners want to have their own bank. Instead, he says it's the treatment they receive and the tone in which they are spoken to.
The disrespect they have for us, that bothers me more than anything else. I think, personally, that if I did business with Scotiabank, which I had done for so many years, in order to write me a letter to tell me that my accounts will be closed at a certain date and to pick up the balance on my accounts after dealing with them for some 25 years. And then when I go in to ask for a reason why, the answer is, I don't have to tell you why.
Foreign Affairs and Immigration Minister Fred Mitchell said complaints have been filed in his office about Sarkis Merlian's conduct in the country, and he's asking for those complaints against Bahamar's CEO to be examined. However, Mitchell would not elaborate on what type of complaints were made or who made them. Dana Smith tells us more.
Mitchell made the revelation after he was asked what he thought of Merlian slamming government as deplorable for not paying the salaries of Bahamar's foreign workers.
It's argumentative. It's inappropriate, it's improper. There are complaints on our files now about his conduct in the country. I've asked for the file. I've asked for it to be examined in light of the complaints which have come into us, and we'll see.
Mitchell, however, declined to say who made the complaints and what exactly those complaints are about.
I won't say any more than that.
When contacted, Immigration Director William Pratt said his office had received no complaints, and Labor Minister Shane Gibson directed inquiries to Labor Director Robert Farquharson, who could not be reached for comment. The Immigration Minister said Merlian needs to get the message that he shouldn't be doing anything worthy of such complaints.
It seems to me that the message has to be gotten across very clearly that someone who is an investor, who is here as an economic guest, should not be engaging in that kind of behavior. Should not. And I hope that the message gets through.
This isn't the first time Mitchell has hit out at Merlian. This past Monday, Mitchell warned the investor his permanent residency could be revoked if he doesn't cease in his criticisms of the Prime Minister. Mitchell's words prompted the F&M to slam Mitchell as belligerent and out of order. Mitchell suggested perhaps the opposition fails to understand the situation.
A developer who made a bargain with the Bahamas government, first with the PLP, then with the successor government F&M, to perform certain things according to that agreement. He has failed to perform. Now he can't pay the bills. He goes and files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in a foreign country, which would allow him to walk away from all the debts and get the asset free and clear. The asset is in the Bahamas. And the F&M is now suggesting, against the Bahamas government and against the Bahamas, that we, the Bahamas government, must abdicate our responsibility to prevent that from happening, a Bahamian asset. They got to be joking. They have to be kidding.
Reporting for NB12, I'm Dana Smith.
Despite the back and forth between government and Bahamar, Prime Minister Perry Christie insisted yesterday his administration is not in a fight with that project's developer. He was responding to Bahamar CEO Sarkis Merlian, who in a letter to employees on Tuesday said he never imagined he would find himself fighting with the very government that asked him to invest in the Bahamas in the first place. However, Christie insisted he doesn't think Merlian understands what a fight with the government is. As it relates to a resolution regarding Bahamar and its Chinese partners, Christie said he wrote again to Merlian expressing that the window of opportunity was closing. The Supreme Court will continue to hear government's winding up petition to bring Bahamar under control of Bahamian courts on August 19th. Free National Movement Senator Carl Bethel ripped into Prime Minister Christie and members of his cabinet over their statements regarding Merlian. While speaking in the Senate today, Bethel said he was mortified by their unseemly comments and warned it is the actions of governments that start calamities in their economies.
Over the last several weeks, what I have seen out of this government has been the height of immaturity, vain glory, and absolutely brainless spouting of nonsense.
Bethel raked members of the Christie administration over the coals in the Senate today for their unflattering statements on Bahamar CEO Sarkis Merlian in recent weeks. On Monday, Foreign Affairs Minister Fred Mitchell warned Merlian that if he does not conform to the norms of the Bahamas, he should take the necessary steps to find some other country to live in. Then on Wednesday, Labor Minister Shane Gibson suggested that future investors should undergo psychological evaluations. Bethel said the government has made misstep after misstep and warned cabinet ministers that words condemn you.
What comes out of your mouth defiles you. The Bible tells you that. What comes out of a man's mouth defiles him. What comes out of the mouth of a cabinet minister defiles the government. And when it defiles the government, it defiles the Bahamas. How is it that we could reach a stage where cabinet ministers are threatening some irksome investor?
Prime Minister Christie made it clear yesterday that cabinet minister statements do not reflect the position of the government. However, Bethel argued that when a minister speaks on a matter of public policy, he is presumed to speak for the government.
We have a prime minister, all due respect, who publicly engaged in the most unseemly name-calling, to sit there and issue a statement and accuse somebody of being crazy, needing help with his mental challenges, and the pressure's getting to him. What kind of talk is this? The government obviously got lost in the politics and didn't see the policy.
Bethel was referring to Prime Minister Christie's recent assertion that he is concerned about Sarkis's Merlian's mental state. He said it sends the wrong message to the world and could have dire consequences for the Bahamian economy.
It is the actions of government that start calamity in their economies. And let us look at this issue. I was mortified. What message do we send when it's the government seeking to bankrupt a foreign investor in the Bahamas, and it's a minister leading the charge in court? My God, that's a job for a government lawyer, not a lawyer who's in government.
Bethel said it is clear to him that the country's leadership has lost its way. Insisting that he is on the government side, he called on the Christie administration to draw back. Bethel also suggested that government look into providing a sovereign guarantee for the multi-billion-dollar investment in exchange for an equity stake in that development. Well, Attorney General Allison Maynard Gibson fired back at Bethel and asserted it is dangerous, reckless, and irresponsible for him to challenge the reputation of the judiciary. She was responding to Bethel's assertion that government is seeking to bankrupt a foreign investor in the Bahamas and a government minister is leading the charge in court.
We have to be sure that we protect that unimpeachable high calling and reputation of our judiciary and the people who sit there and serve us every day. I am ashamed when I hear other people, especially when they are lawyers, criticizing in any way our courts, when I know how hard our judges work. I know how hard they work, and their integrity has never been impeached.
Maynard Gibson warned Bethel it would be wrong to go down that path.
It is a very dangerous thing. It is reckless. It is irresponsible, and it is without base.
Bethel said he never questioned the integrity of the judiciary, but simply stated government has created a certain perception.